Hi guys, and welcome to Angling For You, and today you join me in my front room. Chilling is the word. And what we're going to do today is we're going to look at poles. Now, before we start this is my opinions, and some poles are new and aren't out yet, which aren't in this list because I've not tested it. It's going on my opinions and my experiences. So there might be poles that are different, that are new, that I haven't had my hands on, that I haven't put in the list. For example, the whole new Maver range, the whole new Matrix range, for example. That doesn't mean that they wouldn't be in the list, it just means I haven't tested them yet, so hear me out when I go throughout the different sections. The other thing is, we've put them throughout different budgets because everybody's got different price range. I'll go through those in a second. And the other thing that is the most important part is if you can go and sit with it and you can go and feel the weight, the balance, they are all dependent on what person, size, shape you are. So again, these are, in my opinion, the best in each category. The categories that I've put together is a starter pole category, which is going to be 0 to 150 pounds. I've got a margin pole category, which is 50 to 200 pound. I've got a margin pole 200 plus category. Then I've got a pole 200 to 400, a pole 400 to 800, a pole 800 to 1500, a pole 1500 to 2500, a pole 2500 to 3500, a category that's 3500 and above to anything, and then my best value. And I choose 3 in every category because I will be here for an absolute age. There will be ones that people will go, oh, this one should have been in, da 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 da. Again, my experiences and my sort of choice, effectively. This is my opinion. The prices are all current. I've been up and down. I will be looking at the computer like we did in the seat box one to go through things and packages and stuff like that. I obviously don't want it to be a 3-hour video, so we'll be going through relatively quickly. Hopefully it'll be helpful to you and give you a little thing. It'd be interesting to see your comments below. Keep them normal, and let's just see what your favourites are in some of the categories. So let's roll it on and get into it. Right guys, so we're not going to start with the starter poles first, we're going to get the margin poles done. So 50 to 200 pound, I've split them into 3 categories. The first, my number 3, is the Daiwa Power Carp X 9.5 metre pole, and this is at 192.99. Now I've held this in my Daiwa video that I did around the whole range, and it's not a bad little pole, to be honest. I'm just going to read a very brief sort of thing about it. It's that it's constructed with high modulus carbon, pre-bushed with 5.8mm PTFE bush. The Daiwa Power Carp X poles supplied with an additional power kit, giving you the tools to get fishing. So that to me sounds like it's got a couple of kits. You can also get them in 7.5, 11.5 and 13 metres if you would like. But this is the 9.5 metre variant that I'm on about. They're a strong pole, they're a bit floppy at length, but you would expect that. They're meant for donkey hunting down the edge, and they are a really, really, really strong pole. And that obviously is, when you're fishing your margins, that's effectively what you're looking for, is that strength. So that is my number 3. My number 2 needs no introduction whatsoever. It is a very, very, very used pole all over the country, a go-to for a lot of people, and I'm not surprised whatsoever that it's my number 2, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to agree with me, and that is the Preston Edge Monster 10 metre margin. 200 quid, just under. What a pole. Again, a little bit floppier at length, but not heavy. The only thing I didn't like about it is the top kits were a little bit long for my liking, but I'm short, so that will obviously you know, be fine if you're taller than me. It does come with I think it's 8.5, and then it comes with a mini extension to take it to 10 metres. that's the newer versions of it. It comes with a roller puller top 2 kit and one in the pole as well, so you end up with a couple and some tubes. It's just a really good strong pole, really reliable. I've had many fish on it, and I enjoyed it for a small period of time before I sold it on to Glyn, who still has it to this day and uses it very frequently, and enjoys it absolutely loads. So that's my number 2. My number 1 may come of no surprise. It's a direct rival for the Preston Edge Monster, and that's the Middy M2 at 200 quid again, 199.99. And it is a beast. Obviously, there is a negative. They did struggle to get a lot of them, but they are back in stock now and you can get hold of them. They did go through a phase where they were difficult to get older. I might have played a small part in that, but can take any size elastics up to 30. Comes with 2 kits, really strong, everything's reinforced. I've done many videos using it. I've caught really big carp on it. It never let me down, never even felt slightly like it was gonna break or anything like that. And light and stiff, a lot stiffer and lighter than the Preston, and for considering 200 quid is an absolute bargain, and I absolutely thought it was superb. So that is my 50 to 200 pound range for margin poles. Now let's bring it on to 200 plus. So this is effectively margin poles without a price range, and it's a difficult thing, this one, because you sometimes find yourself, am I just getting it, am I looking at a price range just because it's an higher price range, or am I actually looking for something that is the best of that category? And that's what I've tried to do. So it's not necessarily that I've been for that and I've gone for that, it makes sense in what I've chosen. It might not be the most expensive that there is in the range, but still, in my opinion, is the best. So we're gonna look at that now. So firstly, it is the Middy XM10-3 10 metre pole. Now this is at £249.99, so again just creeps over that 200, but you do get a little bit more lightness, a little bit more stiffness, and you still get the strength. It's such a strong pole. I had some really good sessions catching carp on it last year before I give it away, and it was an absolute fantastic bit of kit, as of all the mini poles that I've owned. And I just think that it just gives you confidence that you were in control and nothing was going to break, and just a sensational bit of kit that at 250 quid were quite remarkable, to be honest. Comes with a couple of kits, I think, and just a top piece of stuff. My number 2. Now this is just a beast. I've owned one. I've not got it now, but that's not mean I don't like it. Otherwise it won't be my number 2. But my number 2 is a Preston Superium 8.5 metre. Now you can get that at £329.99, and you can pay an additional £105 to get the extension. If you look on Marketplace, you can probably get it for cheaper as a collective, and that makes it up to the 10 metres. Now this pole, I love the Preston Superium range anyway. The roller puller bungs in the top kits. I think Preston top kits for me are my favourite top kit that's on the market. I know where I am with them. They've never ever let me down. I've never ever broke one, never cracked one, never creaked one, nothing, never chipped one. They're just a superb strong top kit, just like the map ones. I really like the map ones as well, but the Prestons for me are the daddies for the top kits that I like to use and that fit my style. Now the Superium is a lift off from the Response, which I also had before. They have improved it. It's slightly stiffer, slightly lighter, and it's definitely strong. It feels stronger as a pole, and that is why it's my number 2. And I think a lot of people around the country would agree with that. That is a very good margin pole. And that moves me on to my first in this category, and I used this pole, I want to say a couple of years ago, and it was Kel that actually brought it for me to have a try with, and it is the Browning Power Partner 0G, 10.5 meters, and this one is $699, so it's not cheap. It is an expensive pole, like a lot of the Browning ones are, but it was superb, unbelievably light, unbelievably strong, and the finish on it was superb. The top kits were great, and it oozed quality and strength, and I think that's why I've put it up as my number one. If money was no object, then I would have that. If I was somebody that maybe struggled to fish a pole at longer length, and only fished short length, but wanted the very, very best of that length, and then you obviously could fish shorter as well if you wanted, which would interchange with other kits, then that would be my suggestion. Obviously you can catch the beastie carp, you can pull it down and get smaller kits on and fish for silvers. It's an all-round great pole for that money. So that is my number one in this category, the Power Partner Browning, 10.5 meters. So that is just a great pole. So now we're going to start on the main poles, as in our pole, not the margin poles. There may be a few thrown in there, and I'll explain that as we go along, but like I said, it's my opinions, and everybody who watches this video will definitely have their own, I'm sure. So starter poles up to £150. My number 3 is the Matrix Torque Carp, and that's 4.5 meters, and that's $67.99. Now I've gone with this pole because I've used them in the past. They're great little ones to start your little ones on. They're great ones to get into pole fishing at short ranges, just getting used to that feel of putting things together and taking them apart. They're very strong. You could hook good sized fish on it and land them with the right elastic, and that's why I've put that as my number 3. It's not a very long pole, but if you're getting used to it, or the littlies are starting with it, it's a great little pole to get started with, and you don't have to worry about them breaking it or whacking it and stuff like that. It's very, very strong, and obviously that is a great reason why it's a starter pole. The number 2 is the Drennan Red Range 8 meter margin, and that's £109. Now I've actually had this pole, had it for a little bit when I were in the summer. I just wanted to try a lower level of pole for my close in range, and I caught some mega fish on it, and I fished shallow on it, and it was just a great pole. It's super strong again, not the lightest pole at full length, obviously a little bit floppy, but as a starter pole, really robust and just a solid bit of kit. Really, really good. My number 1 is the Middy White Knuckle, and this again is a great piece of kit. It's a super strong pole for number 1, and the good thing about it is it comes with the 2 little tips with already elasticated, and you've got them. It's $199.99. Sorry, it's $119.99. But at the moment, if you look around, there's deals out there. For example, Bobco have got it, the 8.5 meter version, with a Browning pole roller for $134.99. So you've got a little pole roller to get started. I actually gave one of these away in the 10k giveaway. They're a super strong pole, and brilliant for starting up, and brilliant for little kids, and that's why it sits there as my number 1. I think it's a great piece of kit and really easy to use. Comes with a little mini extension as well, just a quality bit of kit. So that is my 0 to 150. Now we're starting to hot up a little bit now, and this is my poles 200 to 400 category, and I'm gonna have to shuffle myself a little bit closer because my writing's too small to see. So 2 to 400, it's a little bit it's a little. It'll be a little bit of a controversial thing. It always is. Now, I have, like I said, I've got there's going to be more margins and more mini carp poles and things like that in at this range, because I'm not going to tell you to get something that I know that's going to be floppy just because you're paying less money for a longer pole. Sometimes it makes sense to get a shorter pole that's that amount of money, so you've got a stiffer pole, than get something that's, I don't know, 2 or 3 meters longer, that's the same price but it's going to weigh loads and you weren't able to control it or have the feel on it, which makes no sense for you. So that said, my number 3 is the MAP TKS M20 margin 8.7 meter, 324 quid or 325 quid. It is a solid bit of kit, really strong, obviously interchanged with all of the TKS top kits. And the reason that I haven't put it in my margin poles, one, is not because it's not good enough to be in there, and the reason that it's at number 3 in my 200 to 400 is, at the moment, it's really difficult to get map stuff and it's really difficult to get spares. So, although the pole is very, very good, super light, super strong, real good pole, I've put it there because the spares and everything are quite difficult to get. And that's just my opinion at that moment in time, that the 3 that I've put in that margin pole, sort of 200 plus, just exceed it in the ways that the handle, the reliability and the availability of stuff. So that's why it's at my number 3. My number 2 is a Daiwa Power Carp X 13 meters. So like I said, we had one earlier on at 9.5. I've put the 13 meter one in there at £382.50. Now, it won't be the best 13 meter pole that you can get, but I've held it at 13 meters and I was really impressed for the price bracket. And if you're getting started out and that's your range is up to that sort of £400 range, and you're looking for something that's that you want 13 meters and you're strong enough to hold it for a bit more of a time than you would, then that's great. And I think it's a great pole for that. 11 meters, 12 meters, it'll be happy all day. 13 meters, it is a little bit heavier in that price range you would expect, and a little bit more wobbly, but it is holdable and fishable at that length. And my number 1 winner, and it absolutely has to be, is a Middy M3 11.5 meter, and that's at 375. I think this is where I'm trying to say to you that sometimes getting something the best at 11.5 meter for that price range, rather than just going a little bit further to get something you can't control, is better. And that's why the Middy M3 is there. You can use it as a margin pole, you can use it for shallow fishing and things like that, and it's a super strong piece of kit, and there's nothing pretty much in commercials that you weren't able to drag in with that bad boy. So that is why that is at my number 1 for the 2 to 400 range, and I'm happy with that. I think that's where it needs to be, and I think that's a good decision for me in what I think. So, without further ado, let's move on to the 4 to 800 range. Now, this is where obviously things start to hot up a little bit. Now, my number 3, it might be something that you've not thought of or not even been to look at, but it's the Garbolino UK Special Carp Match, and it's 14.5 meters, $799.99. Now, if you've never used a Garbolino pole, then you're missing out. They're out and out power poles. They're super strong. The sections are tough. The joins are all reinforced. The kits are nice to use. The short kits. There's margin kits. There's match kits. There's match 3s. They've got a lot of variety with the pole. They're just a nice pole to hold. On a general, they're slightly heavier than most other poles because of the strength, but the balance is quite good, so it doesn't feel super heavy. It just feels strong, and that's why that's one sat at my number 3. Great pole, absolutely great pole. My number 2 is the MTX1 version 2, 13 metre. That's £530.99. Now the MTX1 is a great pole in this category. It's only 13 metres. Most people don't want more than 13 metres. It's stiff and light at that range. There is my Matrix video online if you want to go and look at it. It is a strong pole, and it is a great pole, or a starter entry pole for people getting up into the 13 metre range. And you know, the kits are good, and the pole is a really, really well balanced pole for that money. So definitely a good contender. Now, obviously Matrix are going to be bringing out new versions of everything, so you might be able to get it at a good price as well. So do check around. A lot of people will be offloading them when the new ones come in, so you might get yourself a deal. Now, number 1, and this might be a reoccurring thing, but it is my Superium X20 13 metre pole for 799 quid. It is brilliant. I had that all over the summer this year, and you'll have seen the videos if you're a regular follower. Carp sessions at 8 and carp sessions at Lindome, carp sessions all over. We had lots and lots of carp in at close, out at distance, at Torn Bank. We had a phenomenal day, and it took everything. I never had a crack, I never had a break, I never had any time that I'd be worried about getting that nothing out of it. It is just an absolute superb bit of kit, super strong. I can't praise it enough for the money that you're getting it at 13 metres. It is a little bit floppier, it's not as strong as other poles, as light as other poles and stiff as other poles, but you're in that sort of bracket, and for that, for me, it is my number 1. Right, everybody, 800 to 1500. This is where we're starting to get a little bit more into the bracket where we're a little bit more advanced at pole fishing. We're not pros or anything like that, but we feel that we just need a little bit better, a little bit stiffer. Maybe you're doing a little bit more F1 fishing, shallow fishing. Maybe you're doing a little bit more where you're fishing across to islands or snake lakes, and you need something a little bit stiffer, more controlled when doing so. So let's have a look in this range. Now, my number 3 is again a well-known thing. This price is accurate to what I found, and it's in stock, so don't be saying it's not in stock. It's a Matrix MTX3 Ultra 16 metre, and that's 1,099 quid, is what I found it online. Now, this is a love-hate thing for me, and I'm going to put it in number 3 just because I know it's a fantastic pole, and it does depend sometimes on the handler of the pole. I've got a lot of people that have had problems with number 3s, number 4s breaking, top kits breaking, things like that. And I think it's dependent on how it's used, how it's shipped back in when there's bigger fish on, and how you use it. Maybe you use a shorter 3 when you're doing slapping. I don't fish with it on a regular basis, and I've not had the problems personally, but it has been a massive selling pole, and loads of people have had praise and a lot of good things to say about it. I know one of my friends, Big Bird at First Time Fishing, he uses it, he's had great success with it, and he loves it. Again, at length, after time, it will get heavier, but it is great for its price range, and it gets you into that 16 metre that is fishable, but like I say, it only for a certain amount of time, but it does get you into that, and it does come with a good plethora of kits as well. So it is one to definitely look at, especially like I said, with the new Matrix coming in, these prices will just skyrocket down. And I do believe that the new top kits will interchange with the older Mandrel, but don't put a gun to my head on that. But that is my number 3, and I think it is definitely still worth the time to look at. My number 2 is the Middy XP35-3 16 metre pole, 1,000 199. This is a fantastic pole. It is really way above its price range, and all the Middy poles are, to be honest, but this definitely feels like a £2,000 plus pole. It's super stiff, really responsive, and comes with a great package. The only negative is if you're fishing at a lot of big carp venues, although you can catch them on it, you've just got to be a bit more careful in what elastics you pair up with what top kits and how you play the fish. There's no detriment to the pole. I had the flagship pole where everybody said that it's not a big carp pole and I landed fish to 18.5 pound on it. It's just how you play the fish, how you handle the pole, and what elastics you pair with what top kits, and you'll be absolutely fine. The only negative sometimes is that they're difficult to get spares, and when they do, they are quite expensive. But other than that, it is an absolutely tremendous pole, and if you handle it properly and you look after it, it'll be an absolutely amazing buy, and an absolutely superb pole. So that's my number 2. And my number 1 is quite controversial because it's a carp pole, and it's also controversial because there's a lot of people here that won't have the same opinion, and it is the Preston Superium Carp 16 metre. It's 1,500 quid, just a shy of a penny under, and it is an absolutely brilliant pole. If you put this at the side of the X70, which is a similar price range, the 70 is a little stiffer at 16 metres, of course, because it's not a carp pole, but you take that 16 metre and up to that, there's not much difference in either of them, and a lot of people won't be fishing it at 16 metres, but if you do, it's absolutely fishable, and it's rock solid, and the top kits are amazing because the roller pullers, and it's just a really lovely pole to fish with, and I think if you are wanting something that's super, you fish a lot of commercials, you fish for F1s, you fish for big carp, you don't always fish at 16 metres, but sometimes you do. That is a really good option to have a look at if you're in that bracket of price range, and I think I'm totally 100% happy with that, my decision in that price range. Like I said, there's new Maver poles coming out, and there's new Matrix poles coming out. I'm not going to put them in this list because I haven't fished with them yet. That'll be next year's list. So at the moment in time, this is where we are. So moving on to number 1,500 to 200, sorry, to 2,500 category. Now this category is, again, stepping up to the next level. You got a little bit more money, a little bit more stiffness, a little bit more lightness, and again, it depends which way you want to go, but this is in my opinions. So my number 3 is a Whisker, Daiwa Whisker X 16 metre. Now the power package is $1,949.99, or if you go for the match package, it's $2,049.99. It's a little bit more carbon if you're going to match kits, so a little bit longer. That's probably where the price is. Personally, I go for the more power option because I fish for more carp, F1s, things like that, and I can get the additional kits. So that's where I tend to go with my options. Daiwa, English-made brand, loads of spares, really easy to get anything if you need it, and just a tried and tested, strong, beautiful pole to hold. My number 2 is the Garbolino UK2 Essential Pro 16 metre, and that's 2,375 quid. If you've never picked up a Garbolino UK pole, you need to do. I've had the UK5, the UK4, I've held the range. The UK2 is brilliant. The UK1's even more fantastic, and was my winner last year actually, of the big the main category, but it is a superb strong pole. The kits are great, lots of interchangeability, super strong but stiff as well, and comes with nice things with the silvers kits as well, so really great package. And Garbolino poles are so underrated, and I think Garbolinos are one of those, if you know, you know. If you don't, then you ignore them sometimes, and you really shouldn't, because they are seriously good bits of kit. But my number 1 in this category, and I know you're going to say it again, is the Preston Superium X70 16 metres. Now I know that's 3 categories in a row where the Superium range has been at the front, and I'm not paid by Preston. I just have tested this range, and I was so impressed by it. And the reason it's sat at the front is because it's $1,849.99, and this is about value. Is the other two going to be better at 16 meters? Probably. So this is where the debate comes into it. So the Whisker and the Garbo probably will be better at 16 meters than the Superium, but the Superium as a package and for the price and what you get out of it, it is miles better for me, that you're not spending the extra 200 quid or the extra 500 quid to get a little bit more stiffness. I think it'll do everything that they do, but just slightly softer. And I think it's just, I think it's a great package, and it's a detriment to how quickly it's sold out. It's now back into stores and things like that, and it's easier to get hold of, but when it first came out, it was like rocking horse doo-doo. It was impossible to get older, and for that reason, it was just my number one. I thought it was a great pole. I was very impressed with it, but I'm more impressed with it than I was the 90, if I'm honest. It was just an absolute quality bit of kit, and the packaging and the bag that comes with it and all the tubes. And I'm a bit funny like that, me. I like a good bag. I don't always use the bag. I'd use my hard case, but I like that it all comes in tubes. I like that it's all labelled. I like that it's all PTFE'd. I like that it's all got aligners. I like that it's got roller plate, and it's all pre-bushed. These things to me are important, and if you spend in that kind of money and you don't know as much as I do about poles, that can be a bit nerve-wracking if it's not, you've got to put everything in it and get that done additionally. So that is my 1,500 to 2,500 bracket. So 2 more brackets to go before the best value one. The 2,500 to 3,500 bracket. This might shock you. My number 3. So my number 3 is the Middy XZ65-3 16 meters, which is the pole that I owned very kindly from Middy, at £2,650. This pole was tremendous, and it's got into my top 3 because of the value for what you got. For the package was huge for what you got for that. I still think it's one of the lightest poles and stiffest poles that I've ever picked up, especially in that price bracket. But you're going to say to me, why is it your number 3 then and not your number 1? Some is to do with the price of sections and the availability of stuff, and the other reason is that although I used it and I could catch big carp and things like that, I say it was more specific to sort of F1 silver anglers, but I would still have it and I'd still fish with it. I had no problems with it whatsoever. Any breakages I had were totally my own fault, and to do with putting it out with the wind and babble and stuff like that. But they were my fault, and nothing detriment of the pole. It was superb, and I loved every minute of fishing with it. I thought it was an absolutely great pole, and that's why it's in my top 3. Number 2 is something I've not tested, and I know that goes against the rules, but I've talked to many people that have, and they say it's absolutely out of this world. And with the price as well, it is the MTX 5 Ultra 16 meter, 3,500 quid. Now, it's a great starting price for what kind of pole it is. I'm really looking forward to getting my own hands on it, but the people I've talked to say it's absolutely out of this world. It looks superb. I've seen some of the Matrix anglers fishing with it as well. Just looks fantastic, and definitely one to look at. My number 1 is the Daiwa Air X 16 meters, one of my old favourites. I absolutely love this pole. They never have a problem having this in an heartbeat. Never going to let you down. UK made, loads of spares, just an absolute amazing bit of kit. If you get it in the power, it's £3,099.99. If you get it with the match kits, it's £3,150.99, and just an absolute beast of a pole. Really great package. and one to look at. Right guys, onto the big boy category now, £3,000 plus. So this is just 3,000 to anything. It's obviously not loads of poles in this category, and the poles that are in this category are out of the reach of a lot of us everyday anglers or sort of pleasure / bit of match anglers. In my opinion, you only really need these poles if you compete in a competition level all the time, or you've just got the money and you want the best. And I think there's a lot of poles that do everything just as good up and down the range. And if you just want the very, very best and you have the money, and you know, I'm an advocate of this, you know, I have the Daiwa Air Z rods that are stupid money. For me, I don't drink, I don't smoke, so my money goes into fishing gear and things that I enjoy to do, and this is the same thing. If you want to spend upwards of £5,000 on a pole and you're enjoying what you do and it's your hobby, why not? You pay £2,500–3,000 for the best set of golf clubs, then a bag, then memberships and all that kind of stuff anyway, so why not do it in fishing? And I'm sick and tired of people pulling people down for buying it. If you're going to buy it and just flaunt it in front of everybody's face and act like a tool with it, then that's different. But people just need to understand, if you can't afford that bracket, there's nothing wrong with that. It's certainly nothing wrong with that. This is what this video is about, helping you get the right in your bracket and get you the best that you can for your budget. But please don't just pull people down because they want the best. If they want the best and they can afford it, then that's their choice. And you know, it's always nice if you know that person to maybe ask if you can go and have a look at it, and you know, go to the peg and have a little look at it. It's always a nice thing to see something that is superb. I'm a lucky person. If I wanted to go down that bracket, I could. I don't personally. I don't, because I turn gear over too much and I'd lose too much money, and it just wouldn't fit in with it. And I'm still lucky enough that I can borrow and use and review these kind of things anyway, so I don't really need to buy them. So we'll start on the number 3. So this has dropped down to number 3 just because of some new things over the last few years. This was my number 1, and it is the Garbo UK number 1 Accomplice HP 16 meters, and it is a superb pole. Like I said before, great kits, super strength, super light, a solid pole, does everything you need, got loads of different top kits and options to put together. It's got a great package. Not as known over it in the UK as it is in Europe, but it is a superb bit of pole. It is amazing, and that's £3,699, so not cheap, but like I said, we're in the big boy category, and I just think it's a superb bit of kit, and everybody, if you get a chance to have a go or use it, you should definitely do that. So this is where it gets interesting, because there's 2 poles I know everybody's got in their head right now, and it's which way around I'm going to put them. And number 2 is the Guru Aventus 0900 16 meter pole, and in the power pack, and this is £4,500, which is a lot of dollar. Now I could go on all day about this pole. I have done when I'm doing the review on it. It is a really great pole. It's weird in the increments of how it's put together. The package building is different, and a new thing where you can just build up your own packages depending on what you want. And the top kits are great, really, really strong, lovely and light. And the pole is a nice pole. For me, it's a bit heavy at 16 meters. I think it's more commercially based, in my opinion, to bigger carp. Although there's F1s, you can get an F1 kits and play around with it, and it is truly a great pole, but it just isn't as good as my number 1, and that is the Daiwa Air Z Pro 16 meter, £3,975. It's cheaper now that it's a few years old. Ever since I picked this up for the first time at Fishing Tackle, I just thought it was tremendous. It looks simple and elegant. It feels great in the hand. It has all the modern technologies. The top kits aren't my favourite on the market Daiwa ones with the interelastics. I prefer the rollers and stuff like that, but they are great. They're easy to get in the UK. They're great for spares. They're just tried and tested. It's a strong pole. It's stiff. It's just a great pole, and that's why it's my number one daddy of all poles, and it will be until probably Daiwa make another one or somebody else comes up with something mega. But watch this space. There's still the Ultra 4 and there's the Ultra 5, sorry, and the from Matrix, and there's still the new range of Mavers we've got to test. So do keep your eyes peeled out for those, because they are going to be good. Now, this is a little bonus thing I've thrown in at the side. Sorry, I'm just itchy eye today over blooming dust, sorting my daughter's room out. So, best value category. So what I've done with this is I've done a 13 metre pole, 14.5 metre pole and a 16 metre pole. So this doesn't sidestep anything that we've done within the price ranges. This is just something that I've kept them out of the main poles, because maybe certain ones in their price range bumped them out. But what I've tried to do is look at the best at their length rather than at their price bracket. It's the best ones at their length, what I think is the best value for money as a package. So the 13 metre, I've got the Middy XT15-3. It's 13.5 metres, it's $529.99, and it comes with all the mod cons of the reactor core range. It's super light, stiff, got the great finish to it. It's got the red writing on it. The top kit's all interchanged from the reactor core range. The XM10 interchanges with it as well. It's just a great pole, and for 13 metres it's fantastic at that length, and it is really a good pole, and I think that for me at the moment is my 13 metre best buy, best value. The 14.5 metres is the Matrix MTX2 14.5 at $899.99. At the moment, I think with the new poles coming in, that's going to knock even further down as a package. It's got plenty of gear. It's stiff, it's strong, it's still in their power base of the two lower in the range, which are more based on power. I think it's a great bit of kit for the money, and it's only going to go down in price, and that is my best value for a 14.5 metre. And that brings up to the 16 metres, and I was so dead set on this. In fact, when I knew I was going to write this little additional category, this name went down before I'd written anything else on this page. And it's across a theme you'll have seen throughout this video. And it's my 16 metre is a Superium X50 16 metre at $1,349.99. It is fantastic for the money. It is easily fishable at 16 meters. It comes with all the additional stuff. It'll interchange with the Superium margin. It is an absolutely mega bit of kit for 1,349 quid. Just top stuff. And if you're in that balanced market, then it is definitely one to think about. And you might ask, why did it not sit in that 800 to 1500 category? And I put the Superior 16 metre Carp above it, because it is a better pole. It's a stiffer pole, and that's why it's set up above it in that range. But that doesn't mean that the X50 is not anywhere near as good as it. It just means that in that category, it got pipped by a pole that was slightly more better at that range. And as a best buy value pole that you'll able to get kits for and spares, that is my number one for that, for 16 metres. Preston Superium X50, 16 metres. So that is going to be a beast. If you've just watched all that, please tell me that it was helpful, because I know that is going to take at least 3 hours minimum to have edited and put together, because it is rock hard putting all the pictures and the pricings and all that, and it's not hard, but it just takes a long time. So hopefully you've enjoyed it, and it's give you some info. I know there's going to be a lot of people in the comments like, oh, I can't believe you not got this, I can't believe you not got that. And I get that, I get it, I totally get it. There's so many poles on the market, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of poles. I'm going from my experience, my poles, and it's not that I don't like poles in other ranges, you know, the Browning poles and things like that, you know, the Maver poles, they're all sat. You've got to remember, I'm choosing 3 in each bracket, and there's probably 20 in each bracket, so it's not, there may be 4, there may be 5, and it goes back to what we said in the start. It is how it feels for you, the balance. If you've got a price bracket, go and start having a look, but if you can get there, I implore you to sit down and hold them either side by side, look at the packages. You know, you might not want a commercial package, you might want more of a silvers package. You need to have a look at all the elements that fit the style of fishing that you want to do, and genuinely sit down and think, do I need a 16 metre pole, do I need a 30 metre pole, or do I need a 14.5 metre pole, or do I need just a margin pole? That bases upon your physical ability, if you are strong enough or able enough to hold it at that length. The venues you fish, you might fish just snake lakes that are 12, 30 metres across. You might only fish for F1s, you might only fish for F1s and carp, you might only fish for silvers. All these are variants of what you want from a pole, and for me, that's why I've put my best value 16 metre, as it's an all-rounder pole. You can get match kits, short kits, carp kits. It's strong enough to handle big carp, it's light enough to handle silvers and F1s, and that's why you've got to look at that whole balance package. And in my opinion, you can't do that to the best advantage unless you sat down, but the videos that I try and do, and the videos I do in the shops, try to give you the most information if you haven't got that luxury of doing so in a tackle shop that has those poles to hand. So hopefully this has been really helpful to you, and you've got some good information out of it. Happy New Year to everybody, because this will be 2023 when this is out on for the wild for people to see. Hopefully it gives you some good feedback. Please drop in the messaging some of your favourites. Try and dial back the hate. Like I said, it's my opinions. I know there's no Drennan poles apart from the Red Range in there. The Acolyte is a fantastic pole, as is the Acolyte Margin. Are both great poles. They're just, I don't like the top kits, and they just don't feel right for me. They're nice poles, but they don't feel, it's not my kind of pole. Matt used to love them. He has all Drennan and he loves them, but like I say, it's dependent on who's fishing with it. So thank you very much. Happy New Year, and hopefully it's going to be a great 2023. And until the next one, guys, thank you very much for watching. Tail lines.